Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions in the worlds of pop culture, sports, social media, and of course wrestling. It is our hashtag Week of Wrestling. Really excited to be joined by a wrestler all the way from UK. We are with pro wrestler Nathan Cruz. Nathan, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thanks for having me on. It's pretty incredible.
No, it is. We're talking before going on. We're so far away, and here in Canada, you have not wrestled in Canada yet, but you want to get down here soon.
I do. Yeah, that's definitely one of the countries that's on the to-do list.
Absolutely. So we talked about it too. I mean, it's a great time to be a pro wrestler. I mean, every year the industry just seems to be booming. The indie scenes too, it's just amazing. Some cards and some of these shows, we had Speedball Mike Bailey, he's fighting Keith Lee in Ireland. That card is just stacked. Talk a little bit about what you've kind of seen, the differences and the kind of evolution of pro wrestling these last few years. I mean, it's getting bigger and it's just amazing to see the talent out there.
Oh God, it's outstanding. I always use as an example, there's a promotion I worked for close to 10 years now called New Generation Wrestling. It's based out of the city that I grew up in. And when they started, they was in a community centre in 2008, drawing about 60, 70 people. And then eventually we grew out of there and we grew to about 200 people. And then just this past night, December 23rd, it was myself, Matt Myers, in a cage match, first cage match in the city's history, in the Hull City Hall, which is the big venue in the city centre. It drew over 2,000 people to a British wrestling event and it was just pure British talent. It was incredible, and again, it just speaks volumes. That's just one place that's grown. You look at places like Progress Wrestling. They started out in the garage drawing, I think it was about 300-400 people, and they ended up having to move to a bigger venue, and now they're going abroad and they're doing like these huge venues such as Alexandra Palace and Brixton. It's incredible to see. Everyone's making money. Everyone's it's a great time to be a professional wrestler and to be a professional wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm. There's so much content out there. What do you kind of think is kind of the best part these days of being a pro wrestler? I think like the content is a big part of it. More people can see your work, more people can discover you as well. But just seeing the crowd reactions, on social media, it's not just like at a live event. You could see the reactions from a tweet, from a comment on Facebook. The industry's completely changed, Nathan.
Yeah, it is. When I first started, I started in 2006. And so that was like, Twitter was probably in its infancy stage at that point. There was no Instagram. Facebook was very, social media really has changed everything. In a lot of ways, some good ways, like you just said, you can be seen more, you're more accessible. People can discover your work. And especially, for example, we was just talking about me hopefully coming to Canada. If anybody ever contacted me, it's easy for me to then say, oh, by the way, check out New Generation Wrestling's YouTube page. They've got 5 seasons worth of all my matches. And, over the past, I think it's 3-4 years that they've got of me. Progress Wrestling's got their on-demand page. And it's so easy to access that content. I think the downside to that social media is, though, and you always get the negatives, is everybody wants to be a critic. And I think at times people forget that they're a fan and that, you may have been watching wrestling for a long time, but you'll never be as educated as somebody within the industry. And I think at times wrestling fans come across a bit self-entitled maybe and a bit, over-opinionated. And I think that's one thing I try to stress to fans is just enjoy being a fan, because understand that you will... it doesn't matter how much you may complain, you will never understand fully what's going on. No matter how smart you think you are. And I don't mean that as an insult to anyone.
No, absolutely.
Other than the ones that do heavily... I've seen friends of mine get really down about this, and I think that's why I get a bit passionate about it. I just think, to them I was saying, don't let it get on top of you, because the people that matter here are the people who are paying you. At the end of the day. But yeah, it's had its ups and its downs in the social media boom, and I think that's the same. That can be said with everything in pop culture, whether it be music or movies. It's had its positives and it's had its share of negatives as well. Wrestling seems to be one of the things that's definitely it's got more positives out of it than it's got negatives.
It is. A lot of people could argue that it is the best form of entertainment, pro wrestling, and I think,
You get no argument from me.
And I'm sure there's a long list, Nathan, but I'm just curious. Is there anything that stands out in terms of some of your favorite things about being a pro wrestler? Is it about, is it the kind of physical aspect of it, doing these big moves? I mean, we know your gimmick is, you have one of the, arguably one of the best gimmicks out there right now, with like one of the best dressed mans in pro wrestling. Really good on the mic. I'm sure that's a lot of fun to do. The crowd reactions. What is like one of your favorite things about being a pro wrestler?
It's honestly, and I think I would not be alone in saying this, it's everything away from the ring. It's traveling with your mates and stuff like that, and that time spent together, and that it's mental. So we was just saying how crazy this conversation is happening. You're in Canada, I'm in the United Kingdom. One of my best friends is Dash Wilder from the WWE, and we met when he was wrestling over here, and I went and stayed at his this past summer and stuff like that. The fact that we can stay in touch, and that bond happened from wrestling. You said that you previously had an interview with John Schuyler, again a really good friend of mine, and it's just so bizarre because you meet someone that day, you may have never met them before, but then for the rest of the week you may be traveling together or up and down the country or wherever it is that you may be, and it's an indescribable bond, and the stories that you have together, the laughs that you have together, that's the stuff that I always look back on more fondly than anything. I look forward to that when I know I'm away for 10 days. Like, some people might think, oh god, that's a lot of traveling. I get excited about that because 10 days where we're going away to do what we love for a living, first of all, and share that bond together and have a laugh together, train in the gym together. It's incredible. It's living life.
What I find really cool and interesting, well, maybe not cool, but like interesting, is, yeah, you talk about these bonds, but at the same time, there's competition, right? Everyone kind of wants the good matches. Everyone kind of wants to get in the limelight. I mean, how do you kind of balance that? Because you're talking about, yeah, they're your friends, but it's just, like I said, it's a great time for professional wrestling. Everyone's out there, but I think the fact that there's like more opportunities and more wrestling organizations. I mean, like, what do you think about that? Because is it become harder because there's so much out there and people are still fighting for spots? Like, the competition is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, certainly. I think, but this is what I found, especially recently, is that everybody seems to be very giving. Everybody seems to be working together, because I think it became a moment when we all realised, well, if we all just work together and there's no bitterness or stabbing anyone in the back, we can help this grow. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, one of the most rewarding things for me recently has been being able to teach and pass that on. We've had new students come through the NGW Wrestling Academy, and I've been able to pass that on to them and help them. And I recently saw one of them debut in Progress, and he had this amazing ovation he got over, and I was really proud of that and seeing that. So I don't know. Yeah, there is that competition there, but I think everybody's so happy to be doing well. And like you said, because everywhere's doing so well, especially in the United Kingdom, there's so many different places to work. You can work full time in two promotions if you wanted, and you probably still have enough to get by on a decent living because there's so much going on. I think it's just a good time for everybody to just enjoy the ride. And yeah, there's that level of competition, but it helps you step your game up. And I don't know. I think it's more friendly competition. You do have the odd people that you might be a bit wary of, but they're very few and far between these days.
You mentioned quantity, but I also think there being a lot of matches and everything, and a lot of organizations, but the quality has been unbelievable the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. You have guys that are doing things that you've never seen before. You have these unbelievable storylines, these gimmicks that are kind of these feuds that kind of continue from a specific wrestling show to another wrestling show, and it's just unbelievable to see. What has been your favorite thing about the evolution of pro wrestling in the last year or two?
The professionalism of it. I think that the production of everything now, everyone seems to have a good production setup. you walk into a wrestling show now, and 9 times out of 10 there's a screen with a projector screen, and there's lighting. There's a decent entrance where ring looks tidy, little things like that. I remember when I was a fan, and some of those luxuries was few and far between. You might get the one or two promotions that do that, such as All Star Wrestling or FWA, but then you'd go to local independent show and it'd be guys walking out the fire exit to a ring that's got duct tape on it and things like that. And those days seem to have gone now. Everybody's kind of cleaned up their acts, and it's a lot more professional in that sense. I think people take a bit more pride in what they're producing, and definitely the guys now. Everybody seems to be getting in shape, whether it be crossfitters, powerlifters. Everybody's working on looking the part as well. So yeah, for me, that's something that I've always prided myself on, and try to associate myself with those promotions. But now to see so many people doing it, it's awesome to see. That's definitely, I think, the best thing I've seen about the evolution of it more recently.
Like Japan, the UK is a huge market for wrestling. There's no surprise there. I don't think anyone's not aware of that. So it wasn't a surprise to many when the WWE kind of got involved and started doing what they're doing, right, Nathan?
No, it came. I mean, it was and it wasn't. I mean, I remember when I received the phone call about it. It was one of those that was like, oh, this is cool, but yeah, kind of saw it coming because it was, they'd shown so much interest in this for so long, and it was and that was rumored for a while that they want to do something within the UK. They just didn't know what. Mm-hmm. And yeah, seeing how the UK industry has really picked up in the past, say, 5 years in particular, I think that was them to just say, okay, now is time to pull the trigger on it, and hopefully it'll lead some more.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the plan. And you see guys like Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and kind of their gimmicks, and I find it's probably really interesting to guys like you and wrestling fans in the UK, where these guys with Trent Seven, Tyler Bate was one of the most popular tag teams in the UK, and then they come to the WWE. People don't really know about them. They're like, oh wow, this is so cool, and everyone in the UK is kind of like, yeah, those are our guys, those are our big names. I always found that really funny when it's kind of one of those things too, where people look at guys like Kevin Owens that come into the WWE and they're like, oh, he's like a new up and comer. The guy's been doing it for 15 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think guys, it's quite funny. There's Aleister Black was just going to NXT. I've known him for a number of years.
Phenomenal.
When he was Tommy End on the independent scene. He's been wrestling for 15 years. And again, to WWE audiences, it's new. But I think at the same time, it's a very humbling experience. I know, if I ever got there, it'd be one thing that I'd always remind myself of constantly is that I may have been a big fish in a small pond, but now you're in the WWE. And the WWE is such a huge... It's not even a wrestling promotion, it's a corporation. Mm-hmm. This is a huge thing. The reach they have is phenomenal. But again, the plus sides of British guys starting to get that spotlight in the WWE. Again, the knock-on effect is just overwhelming for us.
How do you kind of describe what it's like to start a pro wrestling match? Because I've had this question. I've talked to Beer City Bruiser and Ring of Honor, and talking about how there's different types of matches. There's the squash match. There's the match that can go on for a long time. But there's these matches that are short matches, and those are maybe some of the hardest things because you have 2-3 minutes to kind of figure out what you're going to do and make it count because you don't have a long time, right? So it's how do you, there's a lot of preparation going to your matches. Some people like preparing, some people don't like scripting them. What do you think about that? The prepping of matches, Nathan?
For me, it's always different. I base it on my situation. So it depends. I can go into some matches and just get a feel for it out there and have fun and enjoy it. Some matches might be a bit more high profile, and then there's a bit of pressure from you to deliver. Maybe this promotion's built to a match, for example. So then maybe there's a few little moments that you might think, okay, the story needs paying off for this. So maybe we should try and get to this moment, or without pulling the curtain back too much. yeah, it depends on the matches that I'm going into. I look at what I've got and who I'm working with and stuff like that, and it's all subjective really.
I mentioned that people are doing things that we've never seen before. Wrestling has evolved. I asked this to a lot of people because I'm very curious of what wrestlers think about this. But I find it amazing to see guys that are bigger guys like Keith Lee, Moose, Donovan Dijak. These guys that are really big wrestlers doing crazy things that like acrobatic, high flying moves. You know what I mean? That's kind of the one thing I think that makes me really happy about how wrestling has changed, because you got big guys that are doing moonsaults and are going on the top rope, right? From your perspective, like from Nathan Cruz, and if you're not a big fan of it, that's fine. But like, what do you think about it? What do you think about? Because it's like it's really changing the game in a sense.
I'm of a very different mindset in the fact that I think that's always been around. You look at a guy like Al Snow. Al Snow may have looked smaller back then because the guys were so huge in the WWF at the time, but he's still like legitimately, I think it's like 6'3", 6'4", 250 pounds, and he was moonsaulting. You know what I mean? Like if you look back at some of those guys back then, they was doing that type of stuff. Chris Jericho ain't a small guy. He's 6 foot tall and he's always been over 220 pounds. And some of the stuff that he was able to pull off especially back in his cruiserweight days in the WCW, I think it stands out now more so because a lot of the other guys are smaller now. It's not. I think also the way it's not. You don't always go into a wrestling event scene thinking you're just going to see giants walking out like it used to be back in the 90s, early 2000s. It has changed a lot. The perception of it's changed. So I think that's why they stand out more. Have I got anything against it? God, no. No, if it, as long as it's done with care and it's done correctly and you get the right payoff for it, it's not thrown away and wasted, then by all means, let's use that. I had a really fun match with Jeff Cobb, Progress, earlier this year, and again, a guy who's super athletic, and for his size, good God, he's scary strong. But it was so much fun. Like I really enjoyed wrestling with him just because, again, something so different. Like you go into a match and you think, okay, he's not going down the traditional route of wrestling like your average big guy. He's got a few more things and tricks up his sleeve, and yeah, it gives you as a performer a lot more to play around with. That's always fun.
No, absolutely. Well, Nathan, we'll wrap up, but before we go, what can people expect in 2018 from Nathan Cruz? That you're allowed to tell us, because
it's bizarre because every year surprises me. I had a lot of high expectations for 2017, and not a lot of them really paid off due to one thing or another. It's we'll just see what happens. Possibly a return to Progress. Who knows? I can say with confidence that I'm going to be helping continue to build the NGW brand. We packed out the whole City Hall. Let's pack out a bigger venue and let's go further with that. And hopefully let's get to Canada. There's a few countries that are still yet to visit. Japan and Canada are at the top of the list that I've still yet to get to. I'm always looking to return to the United States. I've been to the last 2 years and had some real fun times over there, wrestling for so many different promotions. Big thank you to Sammy Callahan, just while I'm on that subject, for helping arrange that first tour. I honestly, at this point, can't say. I'll be continuing to do what I do for a living and loving doing it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No, this was awesome. I love the insight. I love the perspectives. And where can people follow you on social media? What are the handles?
You can find me on both Instagram and Twitter under the handle of @Nathan_Cruz90. That's 90.
Perfect. Well, all the best for 2018, Nathan. And we'll hopefully have you back on soon.
Hopefully so. Thanks very much for having me again.
No problem. Well, this has been Popternative. You can catch previous episodes of Popternative on YouTube and on iTunes as well. This has been part of our #Week of Wrestling, 7 days, 7 wrestling interviews. Until next time, this is Nathan Cruz and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.